Assalamualaikum. So, last 3-4 videos, guys, that I've made, where I talked about my business experience, um, and the categories that we fit into. And my advice to you is, is choosing a good profession that pays well. And then, if it pays well, you're going to be in not a very good tax bracket, but it is what it is. And then you should make your investments into something, a business or investment where eventually over the number of years, whether 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, where the your business produces the same income as your job, as your employment provides for you. Then you have optionality. If you like, you could walk away, or you could continue to do it for the rest of your life if you love it. I wanted to share, why do we want to move into to become as investors and business owners? Because that's where we get tax benefits from the government. The government is basically trying to partner up with you. As I said, any country's financial system is set up to favor the investors and business owners. I'm just now learning to play the game. So my advice to you, get that good paying job, save money, and invest into the right vehicles that compound your money safely as possible, that is. And we'll talk about the concept of risk. For instance, you could have two individuals, a person, a high earner, who makes, a couple $100,000, several $100,000. And likewise, you have a business owner who makes the same, but whereas, the business owner has more tax advantages, so what I'll describe is he pays less in taxes, for a number of reasons, and different videos we'll talk about. I'll have some comments of each, but one thing that I wanted to discuss with you was one of my own experiences where I had an income producing business, a retail business that I held for about about 7 years or so. That retail business provided a good yearly income, and then I disposed of that business. And let me back up here a second. While I had the income, I was the owner operator. I took it provided tax benefits, whereas you could say an amount, whatever that amount is, you could say 100K. The 100K this business provided for me, as opposed to an employee who works for somebody makes 100K. Well, what went into my pocket would be greater than what this individual as an employee, because I got to write off a lot of stuff, from from the car that I drove to healthcare, to concept depreciation. That's something, so these concepts I'm talking about, kiddos, you owe it to yourself to learn about these. Just depreciation, for example, where you have an income producing asset, and the government that you throws off, after you pay all of the bills, it throws off cash flow to the owner to spend, to feed his or her family. Depreciation, what the government is telling you is, you have this asset, income producing asset. It has a useful life, and there are several methods of depreciation. You could just simply take a straight line depreciation method, just the ease of explanation, and that you could expense over 10 to 20 to 30-year period. And then you also have you could speed that process up, because that asset itself, you have the real estate, the building which is built on, and then you have equipment on the inside that you could depreciate on a much shorter period of time, say 5 years. So when I dispose of this asset during the years, I would say taking that depreciation reduces your income that you put in your pocket. You pay less taxes, but the negative side of that is, if and when you wanted to dispose of that asset, what happens is, the government says, well, we have to recapture that depreciation. And I don't want to get into tax rates here, but just for simplicity, all the depreciation that I took when I disposed of the asset, I had to recapture that depreciation, and my tax bill at sale was right under 100K. My God, that's my yearly living expenses. I didn't want to have to pay that. Then the government helps you again, by the way, something called 1031 exchange. It's a tax deferred program, where if you have a like kind exchange, and like kind is pretty again, I'm not advising you as to what you should do, just what I've learned over the years, just sharing with you guys, so I'll just be talking about my own business experience, and what you do with it is, what's useful to you, you take it, and it warrants further study. With 1031 exchange, government says, you could do a 1031 like kind exchange, whereas you could take a retail business and buy another retail business, or you could buy a motel. Real estate to real estate, basically, what I'm saying. You could buy an apartment building, you could buy 20, 30 homes if you wanted to, and rent them out for income. But with the 1031 exchange, at the time the buyer was there, we needed to close. And what I've learned was their time constraints for the 1031 exchange. Anyway, kiddos, I'm going to have to use the GPS real quick. We'll continue this. Assalamu alaikum. Love you guys.